Well, in just a few more hours now before we know the results of Louisiana's closely watched Senate race, it's been an uphill battle for Democratic incumbent Mary Landrieu, who was forced to enter a bitter runoff race against Republican challenger Bill Cassidy. John Roberts is live in Baton Rouge with the details. Hey, John.
Arthel, good evening to you. Mary Landrieu is hoping that she is not 3 hours away from getting the worst news of her political career. But going into today's runoff election, the polls show that she has a lot of ground to make up if she hopes to win. Despite coming from behind, though, Mary Landrieu wasn't about to give up. She's battling until the very end after logging some 1,200 miles driving around the state in a rented SUV during the week. She voted this morning, then immediately started pounding the pavement looking to get other folks out to the polls. If she loses tonight, it certainly won't be for lack of trying.
I'm proud of the work that I've done, and we'll see. I mean, I think our voters are still very energized. You know, Congressman Cassidy stopped campaigning. He's taken it for granted that he's going to win, and I've watched that happen before, and it hasn't turned out very well for those individuals.
What she was referring to was her opponent, the Republican Bill Cassidy, off the trail today to learn the new medical coding system at the hospital where he continues to teach medicine. Cassidy told us he doesn't think that campaigning on voting day does much anyways.
I'm not sure there's anything the candidate can do the final day. People know these issues. Senator Landrieu supports Barack Obama 97% of the time. About how often I oppose. She would vote for Obamacare again tomorrow. I've voted to repeal and replace over 50 times. I can go down the list. People know the issues. I'm comfortable that people have made their choice.
If Landrieu hopes to win, what she needs is a surge of African-American voters out to the polls today, and early indications are that she is not getting it. Republican operatives told me that their count of African-American voters today, slightly less than 20% of all registered black voters. That is down from 47% who showed up on the so-called jungle primary day on November the 4th. Arthel?
Okay, John Roberts, thank you. Eric?
Arthel, if it does turn out that Senator Landrieu is not reelected tonight, it would signify an historic political shift in the South, from a solid Democratic control a generation ago to a Republican stronghold today. Take a look at what the New York Times says. It calls it the demise of the Southern Democrat, saying, quote, in a region stretching from the high plains of Texas to the Atlantic coast of the Carolinas, Republicans would control not only every Senate seat, but every governor's mansion and every state legislative body. Mrs. Landrieu's defeat would essentially signify an end to the era of the Southern Democrats. So what happened? For a fair and balanced debate, let's go to Tammy Bruce, who's a radio talk show host and Fox News contributor, and David Mercer, a former national finance director for the Democratic National Committee. Welcome both. Tammy, let me start with you.
Good to be with you.
So, I mean, what happened to the so-called Dixie Democrats? How did they become apparently such an endangered species?
Well, you know, I don't think it's just the Southern Democrats, Eric. I think that it's Democrats everywhere. Consider also Maryland and Illinois, what happened with those deep blue states going red also this last time around. But for Landrieu, this is very, very dramatic because her father was the mayor of New Orleans. Her brother is the mayor there now. It's really a dynasty in that area. But what this is really the demise of also is the Franklin Delano Roosevelt New Deal coalition, which was also based on the economy. It was big city machines, it was labor unions, it was minorities, and for the South, Southern whites. And those were groups that were really sectioned off because of the Depression from any real economic benefit. And when even then in the late 30s, when that started to fail economically, when they realized that the liberal economic agenda was not helping them, it began to fray, but then we had World War II. We now have this here where it's the same dynamic. There's an understanding that the economic dynamic that the liberals offer fails those members of that coalition, and it is beginning to fall apart. And this is going to have an impact on Democrats and already has nationwide, and it's going to be a very big change for the Democratic Party in 2016. I think this is it, and the Democrats are going to have to figure out how to handle it.
Yeah, David, is, as Tammy says, it for the Democratic Party?
No, it isn't. And I think, you know, if you look at 2016, when Republicans will have to defend 24 Senate seats, much like we did this year, and also with Democrats only having 10 seats up for re-election, and 8 of those states Republicans will be defending will be in the South. So we'll see if this holds. You know, look, the Republicans have tried twice the last 2 cycles to get the Senate majority. They finally got it now on the third try. Good for them, but this is not over, and we're not ceding any part of the country going into 2016. And we will be fighting on behalf of middle-class working Americans to make sure that their wages are going up, that we see the kind of GDP growth that we have this quarter, 3.9%, that we're creating 300,000+ jobs a year, which on average the Bush administration was only creating 20,000 on average a month.
Well, you just ticked off some Democratic issues, but look at this map. I mean, take a look at this swath. We got a swath. Let's look at that swath. There's that swath. Look at all that red. Tammy, what is going on? If
You'll see the opposite in 2016.
Yeah. Oh, Tammy, will you? Do you think it'll flip?
Well, look, the Republicans are going to have to deliver. I mean, they've got a terrific opportunity to explain, especially one of the speeches I give to colleges is why the conservative ideal benefits minorities especially, is that this has got to be about entrepreneurship and end of regulations, getting the boot off of the neck of small business owners, allowing people to make money. I mean, it's minorities who start up the most small businesses in this country. This is the bailiwick of the Republicans. And they've got an opportunity to show it. The Democrats, David, look, they've been in charge for 6 years now with the epitome of the liberal agenda, and it has destroyed wages. It has destroyed the future for people's families.
It's created jobs, Tammy, and economic growth is at 3.9%, which is way beyond what Bush was doing when he was president.
David, you don't need to yell. That's not going to help. That's not going to make it any more true.
I'm just making the points.
David, Tammy and David, let me interrupt for a second, because David, what's interesting in this is the New York Times saying this, that the Democratic Party in the South, to some, has become, quote, more secular, basically far too left. Do you think that's the case? Has the Democratic Party left some of our Southern citizens, or is that what happened under President Obama?
No, I do not think that's the case. And again, if you look at comparing what we're going to have to compare to 2016, the African-American community, women, the youth vote, they don't turn out or don't turn out at the levels that they do in a presidential election that we're going to see in 2016 with the Senate also elections then. And you don't have that kind of turnout in 2014. And the map favored Republicans as it relates to red states and, if you want, southern states. So, Eric, right now they got a lucky win on the fundamentals, but those fundamentals and dynamics are going to change in 2016, and you'll see that constituency turn out, and hopefully Republicans won't alienate them if they want to see any more gains.
All right, Tammy, you get the last word.
One last thing is that Hillary will not be able to rely on that Barack Obama coalition, which was a little bit of the FDR coalition. That's going to be gone, and I don't see her being able to appeal to Southerners or to African Americans in this country who both have been abandoned by the liberal agenda.
Wow, that's
and you and Republicans said that Obama wouldn't be the first black president, and he became president twice.
I don't know.
That's pretty strong. We do know this. Bill Clinton, who ruled Arkansas, is basically now Republican.
That's right.
Tammy and David, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Good to be with you.
It was interesting. I was just about to pull out the popcorn. They were really going for it. It was good. This is a really sad story I do have to tell you about now. Coming up, over 100 passengers trapped on an Amtrak train. Can you imagine? As a suspect goes on a terrifying stabbing rampage. What police and witnesses are saying about the incident.
Plus, outgoing Defense Chief Chuck Hagel, he made a surprise visit to Afghanistan, and he announced a change in plans concerning our troop drawdown. We'll have the details on what he said next in a live report.
This is not anything new, or there's nothing defining or magical about dates.
If you take multiple medications,